Hey guys, it's the Captain here. Thanks for watching Andertons TV. I have a very special guest today. We've got Mikey from Skindred passing through.
Hey.
Cheers for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
So you're not a million miles away from us now, are you?
No, I'm sort of down Brighton end of the world.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, so it's not too far.
So a little bit of a break from Skindred today, or at the moment?
Yeah, just been at home for a few weeks, writing for various bits and pieces. We've been on tour all last year and most of the beginning of this year, and then it's been nice to have a little bit of downtime.
So I was saying before we started rolling that I thought it was longer. I thought it was 20 years ago, but you seem to think it could only have been 15. That I went to a pretty tiny venue in a local town here called Camberley, called the Agincourt, and I was convinced that I'd seen Skindred before, but which was sort of weird as well, because it's, I don't even know if that would have been the type of band that I would have gone to see back then. But in my head I was thinking it was like 25 years ago or something like that.
I'm not that old.
I know, but exactly. So tell us. So I must have seen the band when it was, pretty new.
Yeah, it must have been.
Tell us a little bit about. In fact, let's go back even further than that. When did Baby Mikey decide to rock out, so to speak?
Well, I guess I sort of hit my teens and I just fell in love with the guitar. I think I saw like Woodstock the film or something and saw that Santana, Hendrix, like, oh my god, psychedelia kind of, and from then on it was like, just pursuing the idea of playing a guitar. I never thought for a minute that it'd pan out where playing guitar was the main thing I do.
But you're way too young for like Woodstock and the like to have been actually happening in your teens. So
yeah.
So who, were there more contemporary artists at the time that or have you always looked back to the sort of 60s and 70s for your kind of? I
grew up in a house where it was full of music. My dad was is a huge music fan. Has always been a really big proponent of that in my life. And maybe when I was very young, it was kind of like, check this out, and I'd be like, whatever, Dad. But then, you get to now, and it's like, they're so right about so much of it. But then, when I got to sort of my mid-teens, I suppose I was listening to things like all the 90s stuff, Rage Against the Machine, Nirvana, obviously, Smashing Pumpkins, all that kind of 90s guitar stuff that was massive at the time, Soundgarden, and stuff from the UK as well. I really like Blur, still do.
Yeah.
Graham Coxon, killer guitar player.
Yeah.
Those kind of things where guitar was sort of seemed to be all around you, and you'd just be soaking it up in whatever forms you could get it in, really. And I was lucky enough to be looking back at guitarist from the 60s and 70s and still being immersed in a great time for guitar, really, in the 90s.
We are, I think, you're a little bit younger than I am, not gigantically, but I think we're very lucky that our dads had cool record collections.
Oh, it's all about the dads.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be sat here now if it wasn't for my dad, let's just be honest. He put a guitar in my hands the first time, and he had all kinds of music going. You know, I was in the back of a car when I was a kid, just soaking up the Rolling Stones and Chuck Berry and all that stuff that now is like, that's cool. You know. Yeah.
What was the weirdest, because my dad went, he was pretty into Steely Dan and some heavy, hardcore jazz like Yellow Jackets and Chick Corea. Okay. And was there anything in your dad's collection that was a bit out there?
I know he was into Frank Zappa quite a bit, but I never had it forced down my throat at all, to be honest. It was always about the songs, you know, because even like family gatherings, you'd be singing songs with an acoustic guitar and things like that. And you know, I was never much of a technical guitar player. I never had lessons. Never. When I was a kid, I would sit for a long time and practice for like 8 hours trying to do like that Rage Against the Machine solo. But no, my goal was never kind of full-on virtuoso technical proficiency. It's always been for me about the song and the riff and stuff. And
that was the great thing about the 90s, though. I think that it kind of, the 80s, because I think I started to learn to play guitar in the 80s, and it was quite a daunting time to learn to play because nobody was really making 3-chord songs. Right. You know, it was, your heroes would be, you know, depending on the type of music you were into, you know, it would be Vai or Satch or Van Halen or Mark Knopfler or, you know, guys who were really good, you know. And then it was like the 90s came along and
it was okay to suck a little bit.
Yeah, whether it was Nirvana or any of the Britpop scene, it was just like, just get a guitar and just smash it, man.
Yeah, and that's literally where sort of my ears pricked up, and I think it's like your age when you can literally miss something by a year or two. Like you have friends who are a year or two older than you, and they're into something which you're like, I don't know about this. You know? And like you said, I think I missed that 80s guitar thing by just enough. Where it wasn't what got me.
It's nice to go back.
Nowadays it's different. Now I'm all about it. And like Eddie Van Halen, I'm like, that guy's insane. Yeah. I missed the boat at the time. Yeah.
So look, was how old? Well, do you know what? I always ask a question because I'm always fascinated. What was the first guitar? And of course, with you being a lefty, was that a challenge for you? You know, did you try and learn right-handed for a bit, or you know?
Same thing again. I mean, my dad was a lefty player, is a lefty player, and you know, I picked up his guitar for the first time and was sort of playing it. But even before I had my own guitar, I seem to remember feeling that when you're a kid playing like air guitar, that always felt like the right way. Yeah. Even though I'm actually right-handed.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm actually right-handed, yeah. So, yes, totally stupid. And if he had any sense, he probably would have, like, you know, knocked it out of me at the time. Like, you're going to play right-handed. But I didn't. My first guitar was, it was like a Olympic white Strat, like the Hendrixy Woodstock kind of looking Strat. That was the thing I had my sights on. And, yeah, I went down to Denmark Street when I was about, I guess, 13, 14. And picked it out and bought it. But I learnt on an acoustic guitar. And my dad was really adamant about that he put a shitty acoustic in my hand and said,
I'm quite
if
glad
you can make it sound good on this, then you can, you know.
I think that's one of the things I'm quite glad has changed. I think, again, that was we probably caught the tail end of that old school of like, no, you must play on something that's really hard and shit to make it, you know, to give it, to put as maximum adversity in your path. Yeah. You know, because if you can get through that, you'll be good. Yeah. And it's like, you do realise that means that 90% of people who try to learn will be put off by the fact that it's so difficult.
Yeah, like an old classical guitar with, you know, action out here or whatever. But no, I mean, I think the idea was, you know, you build up some strength in your hands, and if you're into it, then you'll go electric.
If it's destined to play, you'll persevere and get through it. But I do think that, you know, thousands and thousands of kids that could have really enjoyed playing the guitar probably just went, oh.
Yeah, no, I'm not into it because of this horrible classic.
Like, my fingers are bleeding after half an hour. What's going on, Dad? Yeah. But, well, so at what age were you when you thought this could be a career path for me?
Well, I did school, went to college, did that stuff, and I was this close to going to university when I was about 18, and I just sort of thought, no, this isn't for me, and started playing in bands, you know, with friends locally, that kind of thing, and I never really thought this is what I want to do per se, but I got a phone call when I was about 20, and it was you know, Dan, the bass player from Skindred, said, do you want to come and try out for the band? I'd known him for a couple of mutual friends, and I was like, yeah, I do. You know, so I was in a position where I was working, and I literally just left my life and moved to South Wales.
Wow.
And you know, slept on people's sofas for about 2 or 3 years and that kind of thing. Just literally was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I think that's the biggest thing that, you know, made the difference, is having that tenacity to actually being able to make a sacrifice to do it. Because if someone came and said that to me now, I'd be like, no, I can't do it.
I'm always I didn't make that choice. My brother was a professional, or is a professional musician, so he did make that choice. I, you know, some might say, took the easy option of deciding to sort of, you know, go and work with my dad and work in this business that I'm in now. But every time I see a lot of guys that we employ, and they'll hang around for like 6-7 months, whatever like that, and you can tell it's really not their passion, and then they'll just make that break, and it'll be like, you know, you're going to live on beans and sofas, don't you, for the next 3 years? This is like, say goodbye to the cushy pay packet that comes at the end of every month.
That's literally how it happens. Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, man, go and do it now.
Yeah,
because it's like,
yeah, I was young and you know, just wanted to take a chance and take a risk and pursue this thing, and I'm still here doing it now, which is kind of unbelievable.
No, it's great. So Skindred are kind of, you know, they're fairly unique in their sort of style, aren't they? This collaboration of heavy guitar-based riffs with a sort of a, I don't know, like a reggae rap sort of style lead vocal on it. Did you know that's, I mean, were you, because I know the Skindred had been around for a year or two before you joined it, so did you know that, and you'd gone, oh yeah, that's exactly what I like, or was it all a bit like?
Well, at the time, I mean, you know, back in the beginning of the 2000s, it was that kind of new metal kind of era when I was all about dropping a guitar down to D and just like, you know, on stage just want to jump around on stage with a guitar and drop tuning, and you know, that was an opportunity for me to do that, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'd seen the band a couple of times, and you know, I was familiar with what they were all about. And
was there an inspiration, you know, were any of those new metal bands, I mean, was it, I don't know, it was the big ones like a Limp Bizkit or something, was that sort of a, you know, were you sort of thinking that's...
It was kind of unavoidable at the time, but I mean, we listened to the stuff we were doing then and to now, it's not a billion miles away from where we are now. It's just, we have the same problem now that we did then. We're not a new metal band, we're not a rock band, we're not a reggae band, we're, like you said, we're not, it's really hard to pigeonhole the band, and for 15 plus years people have been trying to sort of pigeonhole what we do, and it is quite difficult because it's a good thing though, because it means we get to support a band like Korn, but then we went on tour with a band like Gogo Bordello, who are like this gypsy punk band, and we've done stuff all between the spectrum of sounds where we're not just like a heavy screamo-y rock band who can only do that sort of genre with those kind of bands, and we're sort of a bedfellow to all kinds of different sounds, and we try and make it work to our advantage.
But when you're writing, are you very much writing with how Benji's going to interpret what you're writing, or are you, or I don't know, does he come up with ideas, then you write the riffs for it, or is it a band collaboration?
We all write together, which sort of has its ups and downs, but we're always going for that sort of the gold that we like, where you're trying to get that bit out of someone that you love when they do that thing, and you're just trying to get them to do that without overdoing it, you know, and that stuff generally only comes from getting in a room together and going through all kinds of bad ideas and calling each other names and having fights and stuff, and then at the end of that you get through that, and then that's when you get that really good stuff, and that's the stuff that we end up playing live, and that's the stuff that has a really good reaction. A lot of the time we're writing stuff with the idea of playing it live, I'll be honest. You know, we think, how's this going to work at our show? We say things like, when we play Download, you know, are we going to open with this one? And to me, if we're not, then chances are it's, you know, it's for the chopping block. But I don't know, it changes with every record, and even this time we're sort of trying to turn things on its head a bit. So we've done, you know, we're on our 7th album, so and we've done an album that we wanted to be like that. We've done an album that we wanted to be like this, and with this one we're trying something again. So
yeah, I was really, you know, again, I don't find it. I totally get what you're saying about people wanting to pigeonhole, but I think that's just one of the sort of annoying things about music is that everybody wants to label every band as something.
Yeah.
But I think what appealed to me was as a guitar player and as a listener, if you like, who did like quite a lot of that sort of new metal kind of vibe. I just thought yours was a cool twist on that. I didn't sort of go, oh, it's unlistenable to if you're not a big reggae fan or something like that. It's just a cool.
Oh, thanks. Well, the reggae, you know, the reggae thing. One of our albums was in the reggae charts for something like 20 weeks, like #1 at 20 weeks in the US, and you know, it's you take that stuff and you think, well, we're never going for that. You know, it's just a sort of byproduct of the way they stuck the word reggae on the sort of genre, and then poof, because of the sales of the record, it did so well. And yeah, you know, identity is so important, and we've been, you know, shaping that over sort of 15 years really. And there've been times when certain things are super popular and you kind of don't want to lean towards it too much. But we've always found that people sort of come to what we're doing. We've just sort of stuck to our guns with what we do really. I
want to get into sound, and I know that Danish Pete's ears will prick up here because Pete and I make a lot of videos. And, you know, Pete's a much, much better guitar player than I am. But between the two of us, we've kind of got a few styles covered. Right. Except for your style, where basically we're just rubbish. Or at least I'm rubbish and Pete's getting better. So what is it, you know, I mean, the heavy, the drop C tuning, you know, stylistically, how have you put together a rig and a playing style and everything that gives you that big, fat, you know?
It's sort of been a happy accident, really. I mean, like you were saying, being lefty, you get forced to use certain things early on. And for me, it was, you know, being a kid and trying to buy gear, and it's sort of what can you get your hands on, done, especially for the guitar. But I suppose it's sort of the journey, because I'm not a true metaler, so to speak. Like, I guess people might lynch me for that, I don't know, but I never grew up listening to loads of metal. I came to it later in life. I was a rocker, rock and roller, you know, I was into punk rock, that kind of thing. And I think it does come across in the sort of the gear that I play and the way you sort of approach playing and that sort of thing. For me, it was always, you know, what can I play that can handle the tuning and that can handle the gain, and, you know, live up to the job and survive on the road as well, you know, because for the longest time, you know, you're looking after all this stuff yourself, you know, it's got to live up to it. But
show me the Old Faithful.
This guy.
Yeah.
This guy. Well, yeah.
Because I think this will inspire, you know, because we'll talk about the Manson, okay. but let's be fair. If you want to go and get one of the Manson brothers to custom build you a guitar, you know, you're going to lay a few £1,000s down on that. For some of it, yeah, potentially. I'll tell you about this one first. Tell us about this. So this is the Ratacaster. This is a guitar that was kind of known for playing for a long time. I put this thing together in 2009, 2010 out of various bits. It's a Mexican standard Telecaster body, which was black at one point, as you can see. Yeah. And we were doing this festival called Sonosphere. Yeah. And we decided what we're going to do this year is we were going to dress in silver, and we're going to like have a big silver backdrop. And I approached Orange and said, hey, how would it be if we got a load of silver fronted cabs? And they sent us like 28 of them, I think. We had like, I think it was 6 stacks on each side and a bunch of bass. We had a load of silver fronted Orange stuff. It was mental. And so I took this body and sprayed it silver. I didn't know what I was doing. Just got this Montana graffiti paint, which I sprayed the body with several times, and it had lots of runs and drips in it. It looked like shit. And I sort of eventually got to a point where I was happy. And so there's photos of on the internet from about sort of 7 or 8 years ago of this being pristine. Yeah. And over time and playing, because it was never finished properly, it was just literally paint on top of paint.
it's just come off, and it kind of looks like a big leaf now. It's kind of...
It looks great.
Yeah, it's got... That's just from...
People spend thousands to get their guitars to relics like this, don't they?
Hey man, if they want to pay me to do it, I'll you know, I'll chuck it around for 7 years. But no, it's genuine wear and tear. It's, you know, the wear on the back of the neck is all genuine.
It's a Strat neck though. That's
right. It's a Highway 1 Strat neck. Yeah, Fender sent me a bunch of stuff, and I sort of took it all to pieces and rebuilt it, and I wasn't very popular for doing that, but it's kind of the way it is when you're a lefty. You know, you have to take what you can get, and
I think it looks great. Do you know what? I'm surprised because we've got Strats in the... There's a Strat at the moment called the Mischief Maker, which is a telly neck on a Strat body.
Oh, right.
But a Strat neck on a telly body looks super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a big fan of the... I think it's the Telly Deluxe or the Telly Custom. It's got the big 70s headstock. Yeah. And I always thought that was a really cool looking guitar, and that's sort of a bit of an homage to this, really. But why I stuck it on there was the neck that this came with. It was a maple neck, maple fretboard, which I don't really like. Yeah. And the frets were really tiny. And this Highwayman's got this great big, almost like bass frets, which are really bendable. You can hang on to them all day long. Yeah. And I just, you know, loved the headstock, loved the sort of block logo, and thought it was one of those weird things when I plugged it in, it just worked, you know. And
when did you discover the sort of the little mini humbucker thing? Not mini, but you know, like the Hot Rails.
Yeah, the Hot Rails
vibe from
that was
Duncan.
Again when I was 19, 20 years old, playing in my first band, which was super, you know, down tuned, very, very, you know, new metal-y kind of vibes. I had a Strat, and you know, Strat wasn't doing the job. So the bridge pickup came out, and I put a Hot Rails in there. It's my little local guitar shop. It's what they had. Yep. You know, it did the job, and it sounded kind of over the top, but it did the job for the tuning and that. And then when I came to this, I loved the look of the telly, and I didn't want to carve it up. I didn't want to put big humbuckers in it. I just wanted something that fit. And these, again, plugged it in and it just worked. I've tried to sort of recreate a backup one for this, and it hasn't worked. Oh, really? So one of these one-off ones where you put the neck in the body and it's just doesn't feel right.
It's like your version of Blackie, basically, is what.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of silvery, silvery, ratty. This is ratty.
It's weird, you know. Up until about 2 weeks ago, this had a Hot Rails pickup in the bridge. Okay. That I put in. So I've had this for about 20 years, and ironically, you know, I was. This may have even been the guitar that I did that ill-fated Rage Against the Machine, and I put the Hot Rails in the back of that for. You know, because that was the kind of covers we were playing then, and it just sounds like shit. So I've put about 2 weeks ago. I put it back, and now it sounds big and full and wholesome. So I don't know.
It's tricky. I mean, I've plugged into guitars that have a Hot Rails or other railsy type things, and it's just weird. I think they've kind of got that. They're all kind of different kind of vibe, because I've got a few guitars with the Hot Rails in. Yeah. Some of them are.
Is that a little 59 or?
This one is one of Manson's own one. They call this one a British Rail T.
Because I know Chappers has got a couple of the Hot Rails ones on his guitar, and one of them I think might have been a little 59 or something. But it sounds amazing. But I think you're right. It's just like sometimes you put a pickup in a guitar and it just totally works and sounds amazing, and other times you put the same pickup in another guitar and you just go.
Well, that's it. You see online about things like, oh, we'll recreate a pickup or we rewind a pickup, and I never really saw the point, but that one definitely would be one I would send someone and say, just send me 10 exactly the same, and hope that they were all alike, because it's great.
But yeah, so this is a bit of a step up.
Yeah, this is a one-off one. I was approached by Manson's a little while ago to play some of their stuff, and we hit it off, and totally love this bad boy. This is my number one main squeeze.
Does it have a name, this guitar?
I'm calling it the main squeeze at the moment. Tim Stark, the man who built it, he started referring to it as that, so I'm taking it. I'm going to go. But I don't tend to name my guitars, which gets confusing because I have a lot. And
I just meant as in, does it have a model?
Well, no, I mean
it's just your own.
Yeah, this is just my number one at the moment. I sort of they do various different kinds of builds where they do a full custom, which is this kind of thing, which is built from the ground up. Then they have like an MA range, which is stuff that's wood from the Czech Republic, gets put together in the UK, and that was just slightly more affordable. Yeah. And then they got their range, which is made in Middle East, and that's really good stuff too. But
Far East.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not Middle East.
I was going to say
it's made by it's made in Iran. Comes over.
It's like,
no, Far East. Thank you.
Imagine, that could be the next big thing, couldn't it? Like
why not?
Is this just a funky cover, or is that actually an old gold foil kind of pickup?
No, this is just a cover that we found. I love that kind of look of the Filtertron in the neck kind of deal.
Like a steampunky kind of thing going on, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe. Wanted it to look sort of like there's a lot of different metals at work, and this actually has an anodized metallic scratch plate, which isn't on there at the moment for some various reason. But yeah, it's another one of Manson's sort of PAF style pickups underneath there, and we just put that on to make it look a bit juicy. I don't play much of the neck, if I'm honest. I'm working on a system where we're kind of like with the G&L guitars, where they have the bass and treble. What I want,
I'm not familiar with. We've literally, it's funny you say that, we've literally just put our first ever order in for G&L guitars, but I've never really played one before.
Absolutely killer guitars, and what I love about them is that I've never really found a tone circuit very usable in a guitar, and at least on the Legacy Strat style ones they have a bass and treble control. And so you can suck all the bass out, and you get this really shrill bing, 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 bing sound. And that's what I like to do with the neck pickup.
Reverend do that if you're shopping again. Well, they have a bass roll-off control. Right. So it's not like a separate treble and bass control, but it's the same idea. I think it's a very gigging band thing, that this concept of taking bass out of your mix, isn't it? I think if you're just like a home playing guitar player, it would be like, why would you want to do that?
Well, it's weird because I think when they first put together a Telly or a Strat back in the day, they were trying to make a guitar that did all kinds of things, you know, like the Strat could be, you know, what you wanted it to be, and it's sort of gone on to other guitars really, where I don't know how usable the tone is on some guitars, but I just hate the look of that one pickup, one no volume. I like a couple of knobs, you know, you feel anchored by a few things. I'll be on stage just going, yep, they're all there, good, they haven't fallen off.
There's a pretty neck on this if you flip it over. Is that just a stained piece of flame maple, or is that something clever?
That's right, you know, people ask if it's rosewood, but didn't want to make anything out of pure rosewood just for the weight and the problems with sending stuff around as well. But this, it's just a really nice piece of flame maple that's sort of been stained to look exciting, and this one isn't nearly as worn out because I've only had this.
I love the wear on the back of your. I kind of.
It will get like that probably at some point. It will.
Oh, I sort of envy the fact that you've, just had the time to spend, to play a guitar enough to make the back of the neck go like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken guitars and tried to make them look effed up in that sense, but there really is no substitute for just playing the bejesus out of it, basically, for 9 years or so. But
no, for sure.
I would have my tech lightly sand the back of the neck in between songs and things sometimes. Really, really fine, super high grit, just to take the last amount of sweat off. And I don't do that to this.
So that's a little tip there then, to actually on tour.
During stage,
he'll have a little piece of almost like wet and dry kind of super fine grade.
Yeah, and just go. It's almost like talc, like the same thing, and it just sort of smooths it out again for those sweaty hot gigs. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that.
I think that's cool. Why not?
But yeah, we have been known to.
I think isn't that the beauty of like a Mexican Strat or Telecaster? It's a bit like, just do it. It's like if it doesn't really matter. It's like what's the worst that can happen is you end up going, oh yeah, I've completely messed this up. Now I'm gonna have to buy another one. It's not like you've destroyed the family, jewels or anything.
No, that's it. I mean, again, being a lefty, you're never gonna get your hands on something mega valuable from the 1960s. Those things are out there, but they don't often come your way. And you're forced to kind of put up with things that are a bit more wear and tear.
So, fairly if you don't mind me saying so, relatively normal, looks like a regular 25.5-inch scale length, pretty normal guitar. If you're drop tuning down to drop C though, you clearly aren't using a set of 9 to 42s on this, are you?
No, I'm actually using, I'm glad you asked, because I'm using my very own custom gauge, my signature gauge from Rotosound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a box of them for you. I'll whack them out in a minute.
Do you know what? We should sell more Rotosound stuff because, in fact, you are flying the flag, aren't you, for Great British,
Do you know what? That's half the battle,
Rotosound.
I'm proud to...
I'm a total slag when it comes to all that. I think everything I own is all American. Oh no, it's not. Victory amps. We fly the flag for victory, but all my guitars are American. And...
No, I'm stoked to be using, British gear. The amps are made in Britain. The guitars are made in Britain. Strings, the whole deal. I mean, you know, that level of industry is something that's a dying thing, really. So
what's the gauge set then?
It's 10 to 54, so it's slightly fatter in the bottom.
Yeah,
but it's for a long time they were 11 to 54, but my fingers were just getting shredded to a pulp, especially with a G string, which is a 22.
And it's not, I mean, 54 isn't insane, is it? You shouldn't need to get any sort of like a nut recut or anything like that to go to a 54, I wouldn't have thought.
No,
because I know I mean, I think, what is Rabir tuned to? Pretty sure he's drop C, and I'm fairly sure he's using like a 60 or maybe more, maybe even.
People are surprised that I use such a light gauge for the tuning.
I think it is quite light for that tuning.
We do some stuff in drop A sharp as well, and for the low one on that I've only got a 60 on it, and it's not particularly flappy or anything. It's sort of, you know, I don't hit it so hard that it's a problem.
We're going to get in, and this is the bit, I think about 10 minutes ago I was kind of alluding to this idea of being a rubbish gent player. So, and I use the word, I hope you don't mind me using the word gent to sort of describe.
I'm familiar.
Yes, it's because I wouldn't put Skindred, you're not like a tech math metal band, are you? You know, it's still a proper rock and roll band, but just with a big fat drop tune.
This is it.
Anyway, so let's talk about the amp, and we'll talk about maybe, because is your pedal board when you're out live like ginormous, or is this relatively typical of what you might go out with? Which is just these two here.
Well, it was ginormous at one point, and it got this beautiful moniker which was the gunship. The pedal board was called the gunship for a while, and then you know, after having so many things go wrong over time, well, not so many things, but it can, you know, once or twice is enough for you to rethink everything in my case. And you know, we started off with the original whammy, which I've got down here. I've been through about 3 or 4 of these over 15 years, and they're not cheap. So this is retired, as this is retired. This is another cool thing which I use a lot, but to be honest with you, on the road now I'm using a lot of fractal audio stuff to run effects. Yeah. Just because you plug it in and it sounds the same every night, like all the effects are there.
So you're using fractal though into the amp, or are you just using fractal exclusively? Just
for the front end of things. Right. Still, what we'll do is we'll take pedal boards and guitars, a few extra cases for like a lot of fly-in festivals we do over the summer, and then you'll arrive and there'll be like rented backline on the night, so to speak, and trusty Orange will be sort of sat there waiting for you.
So is the sound just traditional pedal setup, you know, of the sort of Tube Screamer clone noise gate into a fairly driven amp?
Pretty much, yeah. I've always got the tone from the amp. It was never really intentional. I mean, I guess the first amp I started out with, first loud amp, had a fairly, you know, good amount of preamp gain. So I've never really depended on pedals for the main tone, if you know what I mean. There's always been, I've never really had subtle pedals, like, oh, this does a subtle thing. They have to like go smash you in the face and, you know, your world up basically. So that, you know, I look at them as toys, so that when you switch it on, you know it's on. Yeah. And then in later life, I've come to things like, wow, that chorus sounds great, or that clon is really awesome, or that, you know. But no, most of the stuff I use for Skindred is it's not subtle.
So give us a, you know, let's talk about your relationship with Orange. I can't remember in Skindred ever seeing you with anything other than.
It was the first. Well, we spent a lot of time in the USA when we had the US management, and I went for a couple of companies when we spent a lot of time over there. I was using Randall amps for a long time over there. I was using the sort of modular ones with the preamps that plugged in. Oh gosh, yeah. Those were fun.
That was you, was it?
That was me. I'm sorry. No, I was one of the people who were having a go on those. Yeah. But then, you know, came over to the UK, and basically I wanted to get behind a company who has sort of stood out a bit, you know. Yeah. We, again, same when I was talking about the thing of Sonisphere, that festival we played, we were flanked by a load of other bands who had lots of stacks of something else. Yeah. And I said to Orange, look, why don't we put a shit ton of Orange on stage? Because, you know, the 3 bands before us all have one kind, and the last 3 after us, they all have the same kind as well. So
we can say the word, assuming it begins with M.
It does,
and ends in Marshall.
Yeah, I was using Marshall for a long time just because of those are the amps that, you know, you kind of inherit or, you know, end up using. And I've got about 4 Marshall heads at home, which are killer. But
they make great amps.
They make fantastic amps, but
they're just, they are different sounding to Orange, aren't they?
My problem with them at the time was I was using a Marshall JCM 900, one from the 90s, which was really killer.
Yeah.
But then when we did this flying stuff, the spec would say, okay, the guy uses 2 JCM 900s and 2 4x12s. And you get there and here's a Fender Twin and a JTM 45. Go for it. And this isn't going to work, you know. So that was the main thing about wanting to change stuff up, was we just wanted some consistency. And the best thing about the Orange is that no matter where you plug it in, it still sounds like the Orange, because they all come from the same place and they're all made with the same components at the time. And you know, I've never plugged into a Rockaverb and gone, what is wrong with this thing? Do you know what I mean? And
unlike 75% of hire company Fender Twins, you mean?
Right. Well, that's it. I've had to make a Fender Twin work in Italy once, and it's like ringing people, like borrowing
one speaker working.
Yeah, borrowing like a Metal Zone off the support band to make it work. Like, like why
Metal
is this happening?
Zone into a Fender Twin.
Yeah, that's the secret.
It's the secret.
You heard it here first. That's the secret to the tone.
So, Rockaverb, what have we got here in terms of now? Because we've got the attenuator built in, so it's a little bit different to the Mark II.
Yeah.
But we've got the EQ relatively flat, haven't we?
Yeah, basically all I ever really do is turn the treble, middle, and up a little bit, and then play with the bass depending on the room. The gain's at about 3 o'clock, because anything higher than that it gets super noisy.
Plenty of gain there though.
Yeah, plenty of gain. I don't really touch the clean channel, to be honest with you.
You just turn the volume down on the guitar guy, are you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, what the beauty of a setup like this is you can have the, you know, the neck pickup for the neck pickup.
Oh, I've done the wrong button again. Were we on full or half mode?
I think if you put it on either way, it should work. Just from coming up and the way I learnt, with, you know, you'd have one sound on the. And
it sounds so good, that bridge tone. Sounds so good.
Yeah, just having the ability to flick to another sound, another volume, you know, is what I was sort of used to doing, and that's why I wanted the ability to suck out the bass, so that you don't flip over to a massive woofy neck pickup, but you can make the neck sound like a little plinky plunky guitar, you know.
So what have I got here with relatively heavy strings on that I could kind of, my Les Paul is fairly, I think they are 11s on here.
Okay. Well, if that's in standard, I mean, if you've got a capo or something, I can.
No. See, I need to be drop tunes so that I can learn these kind of genty things. Because I don't know what it is. I can't play that. I can't play that style. I'm just rubbish at it. So every guitar player that we get in that's good at it, I try and get a tip from them. So we shall see. So I've got to go down. Can you just give me your bottom string?
Absolutely, yeah. Can I? Can I do it? Can I do it? What have I done?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. How's that?
I don't know. Have I got enough? I feel like I need more gain, but maybe this is enough.
Get the whammy out. I'm sorry. Oh, what are we like?
Oh, it's like being 15 all over again.
No, I've never grown up from being 15. That's the problem. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, by the sounds of things, then I actually think that, you know, maybe all I'm really doing wrong is I'm not down tuning enough. I'm not getting the right sound from my amplifier, because we met a couple of guys who, you know, it was very much about the way they held the pick and the way they attacked the notes, and they were sort of going for that sort of almost percussive kind of sound. But you just seem like a sort of a, you know, like a regular rock and roll guitar player that's just chunking out those kind of riffs.
Pretty much. I mean, I never was going for speed particularly, but it's sort of things that has come over time, lending itself to certain riffs that sound better with a bit of sort of thing. But yeah, I suppose there's kind of like a kind of Iron Maiden-y gallop thing that, you know, comes out every now and again. But
kind of plectrum. It's all about the plectrum. Just a regular,
just a 1 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even got my own ones of them.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
We talked a bit earlier on, didn't we, about the importance now of a band being more commercially aware of the sort of stuff they're signing and the sort of contracts they're entering into and the opportunities there are to, you know, try and make a living out of this, and not just thinking, oh, I know, we'll just do an album and then everything else will be fine, you know. And Skindred sound like an interesting example of a band where each member kind of almost has taken on a different sort of commercial.
We've all got our own little thing going on that we bring back to the mothership, so to speak. You know, everyone, just the nature of the way the music world is these days. You have to diversify your portfolio. You know what I mean? You have to be able to bring something else to the table other than just being a really good player or a really average player or whatever. But you know, there's all kinds of stuff that each one of us are doing behind the scenes that help the bigger picture.
Because I think, you know, there'll always be, I guess, there'll always be the next Coldplay or U2 or whatever, that, you know, where yes, they'll just have so much cash. It's almost like, you know, but I guess for a lot of touring bands now, the difference between you taking on some of that responsibility yourself as opposed to just signing it and letting someone else do it is the difference between having you know, a comfortable living versus it still being quite difficult to make ends meet, I guess.
Yeah, I think the reason it gets that way, if you're around for long enough, is that just you get fucked once too many times where you go, right, this isn't happening again. And trust me, we've been bent over a few times in the last sort of 15 years.
So you've had to learn it as opposed to just been aware right from day one.
Oh yeah, we've had it all happen to us. You know, we've been dropped by majors, picked up. We've been robbed. We've lost everything we had. You know, we've been, you know, you name it. We've been marooned. We've been all kinds of situations where some people would just go, peace, I'm you know, check please. Well, you know, you regroup and you fight through that stuff to get through the next bit, and that's why we're still around. People are always kind of like, well, you guys have been going for a long time, and it's just that tenacity really is the biggest reason.
And so what is next then for, you know, where do you see, you know, you got any more milestones you want to, perhaps as a guitar player maybe, rather than, you know, things that you want to do, or do you still see, you know, just Skindred carrying on? And
there's other stuff I'm sort of working on in the background, things I might want to do. It's, you know, it's my main thing, so I have to nurture the beast, because you know, that's what puts food on the table and keeps the lights on, so to speak. But
it's some of the noodling you were doing on it kind of sounds to me like you wouldn't feel massively out of place just going out with a, you know, just doing some rock and roll bluesy kind of.
I grew up playing the blues and listening to the blues, and it's sort of, you know, you try as hard as you might to get away from that, but it always comes back. Just when you think you got out, it pulls you back in. So yeah, I'm always going back. Like, it's like Slasher said, you know, I don't know anything other than like a pentatonic scale. Don't know nothing.
No,
don't know nothing. And it's
me
like,
neither. I don't even know all of those.
Nah, that's it. I'm like, is that it? I don't know. That's kind of where I found myself with the guitar, and I've sort of been making it work with the kind of music we play ever since. You know, like I said, there's not a shit ton of metal stuff going on. It's sort of adapting what you do to make it in that world. You know.
Well, look, Where have you were saying as well, you got some festies coming up this summer and some other, you know, more perhaps for next summer as well. New album later this year or early next year?
Yeah, we're working on writing the next one now. Literally just got started doing that, so I think what we're going to do is finish up the year. We've got a bunch of festivals we're going to do. We're doing Bloodstock in the UK, we're doing Boomtown as well, and we're doing a load of stuff in Europe, and I'll be back in Australia and Japan potentially later in the year. So busy, busy, busy.
Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Not at all. Thank you very much to the lovely people at Orange as well for hooking me and Mikey up. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we shall see you next time on Andertons TV. Top man.